In this video, we're going to look at a parabola in conics general form and convert it to standard form and find some of the important characteristics of this parabola. Now, if I look at this equation, I notice that there's only a y squared term. There's no x squared term here in this conics general form. That's what lets me know that this is a parabola. And since it's the y that's squared, then I know it's a parabola that's going to be opening to the left or to the right. Now, to get this in standard form, the first thing that we need to do is kind of reorder the terms so that we can complete the square for the y. And I also notice that I've got a coefficient of 2 on the y squared term. I much prefer a coefficient of 1 when completing the square. So I'm going to go ahead and factor that out while I reorder the terms. So we're going to factor out the 2, and I'm going to have y squared. And then I see this minus 8y term. If I factor a 2 out from the 8, that's going to be minus 4y. And then I'm going to leave some space to complete the square. And then we still have minus 56x out here, minus 160. And then, of course, whatever I add in over here to complete the square, I need to subtract it over here. And I need to remember to multiply it by 2 because I factored that 2 out. Okay, so it looks like we're all set up here to complete the square. I'm looking at y squared minus 4y plus r squared. If this were a binomial squared, this middle term would be the 2ba term, and that means that our b would be equal to negative 2, since the 2b is negative 4, because the y is our a term. So if b is negative 2, then b squared would be 4, and I'm going to put that in both of those boxes. And so now I have 2 times y minus 2 squared. And we have minus 56x, and then this is minus 160 minus 8, so that becomes negative 168 equal to 0. Now I should have reminded us at the beginning, but let me just stop and do so now. The standard form for the parabola that we're looking for is y minus k squared equal to 4c times x minus h. It's just a good idea to have in mind what it is that we're working toward so that we know when we get there. Okay, so looks like I have that y minus k squared part, but the x, the 56x, and the negative 168, we need to move those to the other side. So I'm going to add plus 56x. Plus 168, we're going to add that to both sides. And now I have 2 times y minus 2 squared is equal to 56x plus 168. Now we're getting close here. Notice in our standard form, we don't want a coefficient on the y minus k squared part over on the left side of the equation. We only want a coefficient here in the 4c on the right side of the equation. So since I've got this 2 over here, I'm going to divide everything by 2. And that's going to give me y minus 2 squared equal to 28x plus 84. Okay, so I went to a new page. Here's where we are now. And remember our standard form, y minus k squared equals 4c times x minus h. So it looks like the last thing I need to do here is just to factor out and figure out that 4c term. So with what we have here, I'm going to factor out that 28 so that my x just has a coefficient of 1. And if I factor out 28 from 84, 28 times 3 is 84. So that's going to leave me with a plus 3. So now we have our parabola in standard form. The vertex of our parabola is easy to identify now. The x-coordinate is going to be negative 3. And the y-coordinate comes from here. It's going to be 2. So I have a vertex of negative 3, 2. I'm noticing that the 28 here, it's positive. And so this means, we said earlier that we knew because it was a y squared that this was going to open up or down. Since this is positive, then we know, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. We said not up or down. We said this is going to open left or right because it's a y squared. That means it's going to open left or right. And since it's positive, this one opens to the right. The other information that we need to find is the location of the focus and also the directrix. And remember that both of those depend on this C value from our standard form over here, the 4C in front of the x minus h. So in front of the x minus h, we have 28. So 28 is equal to 4C. And if I divide both sides by 4, that means C equals 7. And so what that means is that the focus is going to be 7 units away from our vertex, and the directrix is also going to be 7 units away in the other direction. So we could, I'm just going to sketch a quick graph here. If we start with our vertex at negative 3, 2, I'm going to say that's about right here at negative 3, 2. And we know this is going to open to the right, so that means that my focus is going to be 7 units to the right of the vertex. And so that means that my x-coordinate here for the focus is going to change. Right now my x-coordinate is at negative 3 on the vertex. If I go 7 units to the right, then I'm going to end up at 4. Negative 3 plus 7 is 4. And the y-coordinate, of course, is going to stay the same. That's a 2. So we'll say about right there. That's our focus. This is our vertex. The directrix, on the other hand, is going to be 7 units to the left. And so if I start at negative 3 and go 7 units to the left, then that, of course, is going to put me at negative 10. So my directrix is going to be the vertical line x equals negative 10. And we'll say that's about right here. I'll label that negative 10. And here's my directrix. And so because the focus is so far from the vertex, this is going to be a pretty wide parabola. Maybe something like that, just a sketch. But there's our parabola, from general form to standard form to a graph.